Hey everyone, and welcome back to Boho Jewel. I am Sandra, and today we're doing another crochet video. It is autumn, it's getting colder outside. That always inspires me to start playing with yarn and fabricy things. So today I'm gonna share with you how to create this really cute little crochet scarflet. It's got just the cutest pattern on it, and it's a scarflet because it is a scarf, but it's not very long. And I think this is great, especially kind of in these transitional months. It's enough to keep you a little warm, but you don't have to be all bundled up, and they're just nice and petite and adorable and can add a little bit of something to your outfit. So I'm going to share with you guys how to do this using this type of yarn. I think this is really the best yarn for the project because it keeps it nice and stretchy and sort of flexible. So if you're using a thicker yarn, you could, but it's just going to make it a little bulkier and probably a little less comfortable in my opinion. So it's a pretty easy project. We're just using a half double crochet for the most part, but I am going to go step by step for anybody who might be a beginner. So let's jump right in. All right, so as I said, this is the yarn that we'll be using. It's the Red Heart Unforgettable yarn, and it calls for a 6mm crochet hook. I have a 6.5mm. I'm not sure why it's a 6.5. I don't think that 0.5 of a millimeter is going to make a huge difference, and I love these hooks. They're just so comfortable. So this is what I'm using. The pattern that I'm going by is actually on the back of the paper, and I don't know if anyone else struggles with this. If you watched my other videos, you know I like to kind of create a cheat sheet for myself, and I know you're thinking, how in the world can you even read your cheat sheet because your handwriting is awful, but this works for me. For some reason it can be kind of hard for me to go by these. I don't know why, so I just always kind of like to shorthand for myself and have this to the side. It's just easier for me to reference to. Maybe that'll help somebody else out there whose brain kind of works like mine does. So if you're looking for the color of this one, it is, where did it go? It's Parrot. Oh no, this one is Sunrise. Sorry. This one is Sunrise. The one that I did on the other one is Parrot. Where did it go? I know it's on here somewhere. Well, anyway, it's Parrot. That's the one that I did for this one, the colors, if you're looking for those. The weight of the yarn is a 4 medium in case you can't find these or you want to try a different yarn. It's totally up to you. So let's jump right in. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to share for just anyone who might be a beginner. I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail, and I'm going to get my initial loop on there. So I'm going to pull my yarn over, kind of pull that behind it, lift that up to the front, and pull my hook through, and voila, magical. Pull that a little snug, not too tight, just enough to keep it on your hook. So I'm going to chain 35, so that's simply yarn over, pull it through your loop, that's your first chain. Yarn over, pull through, that's your next chain. And we're just going to do that until we have a chain of 35. 35. So we're going to be working with half double crochets through the entire piece. So I'm going to go down this row. We're doing our starting chain with just simple half double crochets. Let me pull some yarn. And a half double crochet is just kind of what it sounds like. It's the same basic idea as a double crochet, but you just kind of skip a step. So we're going to work into our first chain right here. Boop. So what you're going to do is yarn over. Okay, push it through that chain, yarn over again and pull it through, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops that we have. Let me show you again. Sometimes I find that the first chain can be tricky, especially depending on the yarn that you're using. Let me know in the comments if you find that to be true. Like I find like this one is a softer yarn. It's a little more flexible, so I feel like it's a little harder to hold on to or kind of work through on that first chain. But it's great because, like I said, it gives it this nice stretchy quality, especially with the stitches that I'm going to show you that we're using. So let me go through that again slowly. So you yarn over, we go through the chain, yarn over again, pull it through, and then yarn over and pull it through all 3 loops that you have on your hook. So through, yarn over, and there we go. And I'm going to do one more time. So yarn over, through the next stitch, yarn over, pull it through that one, And again, this is where it's important not to hold your work too tightly because you need to give yourself a little wiggle room, but you don't want to hold it too loose either. So through the magic of editing, we have our entire row done, almost. I saved the last stitch so that I could show you what we do there. So same thing, we're going to half double crochet into that last stitch, and then we're going to pull one through, chain one that is, and turn it over. So now the difference is going to be we're only going to half double crochet in the back loops for the second row. So what that means is instead of going through the front like we have been, we're going to go through just that back loop right there. So we pick up our half double crochet just like we did before, and then I'm going to go right down that little center, pull through, and finish that half double crochet. And then again all the way down. So instead of going to the front here, we're going through our stitch in the back of our stitch, the back loop of our stitch. So there's the back and there's the front. And then I'm going to do that all the way down the row. So what this means is all of your even numbered rows are going to be back loops. And then your odd numbered rows are going to be your front loops. So we're going to be switching back and forth. So through this entire row, row number 2, we're going only in the back loops. Oh, it's interesting to me on some of this variegated yarn too. I think I might do that one over again. Let's see, it feels a little loose. Is some of the colors tend to be more loose than others. Have you noticed that? You guys let me know that in the comments too. Like some of the colors tend to be thicker in places, like even though it's the same ball of yarn, sometimes some of the colors are more stretchy than the other colors, and some of the colors feel more thick. And I haven't quite figured out why that is. So if you happen to know, go ahead and leave it in the comments. And if I can remember to later, I might even Google it. So we're doing this all the way down the back row. I'm going to finish this row and then I'm going to show you what we do next. So we finished that row right here. I did my chain one and I'm turning it back over to the other side again now. And now we're going to go into the front loops. So we're going to take our half double crochet and slide it around that front and finish our half double crochet. Let me see if I can get it from a little bit of a different angle for you. So we're going to go right here, start our half double crochet, and we're working it right through that front loop only. Oh, it slipped away from me. Okay, so again, we're just doing our half double crochet. It's hard for me to hold it like that. And only through the front loops. And I know this looks so wonky because like I said just a second ago, the yellow parts of this yarn seem really thin in places. And so it looks like it's stretching way out, but don't stress over that. It is going to come back together, especially after you wash it the first time, but you can see it's totally fine. So again, start our half double crochet. We're only going through that front loop. That looks so confusing on camera. So let's pull this out. So what we're doing basically, if you look at it from the top, instead of going through the back this time, we're pulling our yarn and everything through that front and working through just the front loops. So we do that all the way down the row. And again, this is row number 3. So that is going to make all of your odd numbered rows front loop rows. And we're just going to repeat that pattern, back loop, front loop, back loop, front loop, until you've reached 70 rows. Okay. So I'm obviously not going to make you watch through me crocheting 70 rows because that would be a god-awful long video, right? So I'm going to head out, do the movie magic, and come back with a finished 70 rows. But you can kind of see already a little bit how it creates that pattern. You can see it more on the other side where it starts to create sort of that back and forth pattern that we get in the finished piece, okay? So So it creates just a nice texture to it, I think, and it adds to that sort of fluidity of the object, or the scarf. The object, that sounded so clinical, didn't it? All right, you guys, so this is what I'm going to spend the afternoon doing, is crocheting up to 70 rows. And then I'm going to show you how we seam it together. See if I can even find the little seam on here, how we close it up together for the ends to meet, and how we get that nice border on it as well. So I'll meet you back in a while. So I have finished all 70 of my rows here. It actually took me a day longer than anticipated, because I had noticed I was about halfway finished and noticed, I'm out for a minute, you guys can see my messy workspace. I realized that it had started getting skinnier and skinnier because I had apparently missed a couple of stitches on the end somewhere, and I had to unravel it all and start over again. So it does happen. It's time consuming, but at the same token, that's the nice thing about crochet, is it's easy to go back and fix your mistakes, even though it makes you crazy. So I was a little stressed and distracted by something, and so, you know, I guess it's better to clear your head when you're crocheting. So now on these instructions, this is something I found weird, and you'll see even on this image where the nice little textured side is facing out, that is our right side. So this right here, you can see where it's a little smoother. Let me zoom in. And then you have the nice textured side right here is your right side. This is what we call the wrong side. Same thing when you're sewing, like you have your pretty side, you have your right side and your wrong side. So the instructions say for the right side to be facing out for this part, but that doesn't make sense to me, because you want your seam that we're going to create to be hidden. So we're actually going to flip it to where the right side is facing in. So I guess it was maybe just a misprint. But the right side facing in. And so what we're doing here, okay, right side is in, and we're going to create a seam. So you're just lining up your two edges here, row by row, and we're going to slip stitch across. So let me zoom back in. There we go. And so slip stitch is very simple. Let me get my things here into the camera. Oh, there we go. Wobble, wobble. So slip stitch is like you're starting a single crochet, but you're not doing a complete single crochet. So what you're going to do is you're going to find your first two loops right here. You're going to put your hook through that one, and then the matching one on the next side. And then you're going to pull this through, just like you're beginning a single crochet, but you're not going to yarn over again. You're just going to take that and pull it straight through. So we're just going to do that all the way down. So we're matching through that loop, so that it's the same on both sides. Yarn over, pull that through, but then we're going to continue pulling that through that loop. So you're just wanting to make sure you're matching through the next loop and the next loop, so you get a nice even closure on that. And that's all we're doing down here for the slip stitch, to tie those seams, or kind of knit those seams together, crochet them together, just like that, all the way down. And you see how it creates a nice seam. Okay, and I'm going to finish that and show you why we need our right sides in for this. So here we are on our last slip stitch on the end of the row, and let me get that through there. And instead of fastening it off, I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little funky, you guys. It's still early morning. I rushed to get ready for work. I have to go to work this morning, and I wanted to get this finished. So, having some sinus issues in the mornings right now. So what we're going to do is just kind of let this be, rather than finish it off the way we normally would. We're going to let this hang out, because we're going to start creating a seam. So once you have your last stitch there, we're just going to kind of hold that there. But you see where we finished that seam up, and it's nice. It's not too bulky, but you can see a little bit of the seam. You can see where it's bulky. So when we flip it over, I guess that's the better way to show you. You can see where that is like that. So once we flip it over, you don't see the seam. The seam is kind of hidden and you just have that nice, pretty pattern. So that's why we're putting our right side in when we do this. So I'm not sure why it was printed that way. That's why I like to do these videos, because I think sometimes the patterns, I don't know, sometimes they're just not right. All right, so there's that. So now I'm going to show you how we're going to create the edging on our seam. So here we are at the end of our seam, I guess, and now we're going to clean up our edges. So I'm going to be working, I'm going to pull this front part down a little bit, and we're going to be working along this edge first. So a little noodled up from all the turning and twisting. Give me just a second, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain one, okay? And then we're just going to work single crochets into all of these. So right here into the space, I'm going to single crochet. And right here into this space, I'm going to single crochet. Okay? All the way down. So as soon as you see a space, just a simple single crochet. I like this because it just finishes it off nicely. Don't make it too complicated. Okay? The directions again call for every other row to do 2 single crochets. I did that on this first one and it kind of confused me a little, so I ended up just doing this and it looks just fine. So we're just going to single crochet all the way around, and what happens is, because it has that sort of because we're working in half double crochets around, it's going to give it a little bit of a snugness, which just sort of adds to the niceness of it. Not really a snugness. I'm not sure that that's the right word that I was looking for. Like I said, you guys, I just woke up. I just had my coffee. I was trying to get dressed for work and everything, and I was like, I have to finish this video. I promised that it would be out. I put on my Instagram that it would be out this week, and we're already on Saturday, and I already messed up once. Something in the air this week. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to go in all the spaces. So you can see how that just, it ends up creating a nice even stitching all the way down the row. It's closing it up well. Okay, so I'm just going to go all the way down. Whoops, lost that. And then show you the end result. So I've looped that all the way around the entire edge. I am back at my seam right here. So I'm just going to do my last one right through here. And now that I'm back at my seam, I'm just going to go right next to it, do one more, and slip stitch it just like we did before. And now I'm going to fasten it off. So let me grab a pair of scissors, leave a little bit of a tail, boom, just like that. Pull it through nice and snug. And now I'm going to fasten this off through the seam. Just take my needle, kind of work it through the seam there. And then, so let me show you guys that edge, that nice edge. So you see how it just finishes it off a bit and it gives you a nice pretty border. And then I'm going to go to the other side, start on this side, work some yarn through and work it all the way around that edge as well, and then we'll be done. So I am going to grab a needle so I can, excuse my voice, so I can show you guys real quick, if you need reference for that, how to get those little tails hidden, and I'll go ahead and do the other side as well to show you how to loop that through. But if you're a pretty advanced crocheter, then this would be the end of the video for you. So I'm going to give you guys an out to head on out. Let me know how you like this, and let me know what kind of crochet projects you guys want to see. So that being said, let me go grab a needle and I'll show you guys how to finish that off. All right, guys, so I am back once again for you. It's just a little blip in the screen, but for me, it's actually the next day. I swear this has been like the longest process this week trying to get this little scarflet finished. So bear with me. It's just been kind of one of those weeks. I don't know. All right, so here we have our finished little tail from the border, and I've got my needle threaded. You don't need a really sharp needle. This one's pretty dull on the end, which I actually prefer, so that when you're going through the yarn, it doesn't tend, like if you use a really sharp needle, you can if that's all you have, but it does, for me, it tends to get stuck kind of in the yarn itself and cause unraveling. So just, you can get larger plastic needles too for this part of it. But what I like to do is I'm going to go in through my seam, which kind of hides the yarn a little bit better. So all I'm going to do, very simple, it doesn't have to be complicated. This is one of those things where there's really, I don't think there's really a right or wrong way to do it. The idea is just to get that yarn worked through, kind of work it in when you're using a multicolored yarn like this through the same colors, so it does stay kind of hidden. I've got a nice long tail on here, so just kind of work it through there, okay? And the idea is just to secure it off so it doesn't unravel, basically. So once I find a place I want to stop, I'm actually just going to pull it back through the other direction, just like that. And then I like to go down through the other side, pull it straight through, and that's where I like to cut, kind of pull it taut, cut it pretty close to the edge, but not too close so you don't end up cutting your work. And then it just disappears in there. And I'm going to do the same thing with this side. So I'm going to show you too how to get started on the opposite edge. So this basically going to be the same thing all the way around. So this again is one way that you can do this. There's many ways to do this. Some people like to just kind of tie a knot around it or whatever, but this is an easy way. I'm just going to start here on the other side of my seam, work through my stitch. I'm going to hold my yarn in this hand just like this, kind of looped over. I'm going to grab hold of it, in theory, and I'm going to pull that through. So now I've got sort of those two strands next to each other. I'm going to pull both of them through, okay, until that little short one right there, our little tail, is through. Hold that kind of tight, just like that. Oh. In theory. I'm telling you, there must be a curse on this project or something. It's just not going as smoothly. I honestly think it's kind of the yarn too. I don't usually work with yarn that's this stretchy and wobbly, so it's easy for things to kind of get lost. Like I said, some of the pieces, it's weird because like you can even see here, like this is thicker and then this gets thinner. And then some of the yellow ones are really thin. So anyway, excuses, blah, blah, blah. So you see how we kind of have this hook, but you want to be careful not to lose this. So just hold that to the side, and I'm just going to do the same thing I've been doing. So I'm going to do my chain one, okay? And then we're just going to go all the way down the other side in each space. So there's a space and single crochet. And that space right there. Let me make sure we're centered here, single crochet all the way down. And I think it is actually kind of a valid point depending on the yarn that you're working with. So if you're a very beginner, I would recommend kind of working on some things with just a cotton yarn, like with the sugar and cream yarns that are really inexpensive, and doing like the little dishcloths and things just to get used to the stitching and get used to the technique and what it feels like and what it looks like with the different crochet stitches and even finishing and all that kind of stuff. So just going all the way, oh, that felt too thick. There we go. All the way down and around the other side, just like we did before. And then we're going to finish it off the same way. So I'm going to pull that a little loose. So then we have this little guy right here, which is pretty secure. You can see where it's looped through. Okay, and I'm just going to take my needle, get rid of some of those fuzzies, and thread it through. And of course, you know this isn't going to work because nothing else has been working. There must be some kind, I don't know. I thought we were done with all the retrogrades. I don't know. Something is happening with me this week. I think my mind is just not in it. So same thing. I'm just going to take this and I'm going to work it through an area that's close to it, not pulling too tight. Just sort of wiggling it through a few stitches, just like that. Just so it doesn't come loose. So you don't always have to have, you know, a tight knot in something. Just like that, and then pull it through. And then what I've noticed with yarn, once you wash it a few times, it tends to, you know, it's a fabric substance. It expands, it shrinks, all that stuff. So then that's secured in there nicely. And so we're going to work that all the way around the other side. So while I'm working on that for a minute, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I always love to see the comments. They keep me motivated. They keep me happy. I love seeing when people are learning something new. So be sure to leave me some comments if you're working on these projects, or if you ever have questions about anything I can try to help you figure out. And let me know, like, if you find some crochet patterns somewhere that you're struggling with. Like I've said in previous videos, I like to do these and I like to break them down. I don't think my notes are up here right now, but I do have like my little sort of my shorthand notes that I use for myself. You know, all of our brains work a little differently. And for me, quite honestly, when I see someone doing something, it's a lot easier for me to register and figure out than if I'm just reading the, you know, the instructions, the little, you know, the directions for the stitches and everything. Because sometimes for some reason, it feels like Greek. It feels like a secret code. So if there's a pattern or even a particular stitch design that you have found that seems to be a little confusing, please leave that in the comments below as well. Reach out to me and I will look into it and see if I can help you figure it out. Maybe we can figure it out together. And also let me know what other kinds of crafts you guys are interested in learning about. I do all kinds of stuff. I get bored really easily, so I like to switch things up. Like I said, right now, it's in the cooler months and it just inspires me to get back into the crocheting. I'm going to start exploring knitting soon, so I think that'll be a fun adventure if you want to go on that adventure with me. So be sure to like the video if you're enjoying this, or like any of my videos if you find value in them, and be sure to subscribe as well for all the new things that I'll be posting and sharing and all of the updates. So on that note, I hope you guys are doing great. And if you do one of these projects that you've learned from one of my videos and you have an Instagram and you share it on Instagram, be sure to tag me on Instagram so that I can see it as well. My Instagram is at bohojewel and I'm addicted to it, so I'm on there quite often. All right, you guys, I'm also starting to discover TikTok, which is bananas, right? So, but I'm hooked on it. It is what it is. Hooked on it. Get it? But I'm ching. Okay. So anyway, you guys, that's enough with the bad mom jokes. I will see you guys soon. I have some other videos lined up and in the works, in the plan. So I will be back on here soon. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care.